All right, so today, what are we going to do? So we are going to start a new chapter. So this is called Economic Basics of Trade. Depending on the textbook you have, it may correspond to a different chapter, right? So essentially, this is a chapter to talk about how we can benefit from trade each other, or what's the economic theory behind international trade, right? So this is a roadmap for this chapter. So we are going to discuss absolute advantage, comparative advantage. And then, so once we understand comparative advantage, we are going to learn how we can gain from trade. So when we talk about comparative advantage, so we are going to rely on PBF. So this is a concept we just learned in previous chapter, right? So in previous chapter, we talk about PBF, which stands for production possibility frontier. I just want to remind you, there's an important concept in PBF, which is opportunity cost, right? So it's short for op cost, opportunity cost, right? And another thing I want to remind you, so the slope of PBF, the slope of PBF actually corresponds to the opportunity cost, right? But remember, so the PBF typically is a downward sloping curve. And then, so when I say slope, it's just the absolute value of the slope. The absolute value of the slope gives you the opportunity cost, right? So we are going to see that again in today's discussion, right? So this is the roadmap, right? So the main thing in this chapter is the theory of comparative advantage. So the theory of comparative advantage says it makes sense to produce the things you are especially good at producing and buy everything else from others. So here's the key word is you are producing stuff you're especially good at. But now we need to understand what that means. What do we mean we are especially good at? So this especially good at is a relative term. It's a relative term, right? So in the early class, I give you example, right? So if we only do two things for life or for job or for whatever, say for example, so two jobs, one is giving lecture, the other is mow the lawn, right? And then so compared to my son, so I'm especially good at giving lecture, right? And my son, he probably is especially good at mow the lawn, right? And when we talk about that, so just in a relative term or in the language of opportunity cost, right? So you're going to see that again today, right? Or in details today, okay? So just to give you a background or give you a history, David Ricardo, so he is the person who discovered the idea of comparative advantage. The background of the discovery was almost 200 years ago. Okay, so in English, in English Parliament, so they were debating about corn law. The corn law proposed to impose high tariff on imported grains. The point of that high tariff is to protect British landlord. So some students may wondering what is tariff. Tariff essentially is a tax on imported goods and services. It's a tax, right? And there's a high tariff, it just essentially make the imported grain or the grain produced by foreigner more expensive. So that just make sure the British landowner who produce domestic grains, they have advantage in the market. So that's the point. But then David Ricardo, he argued against this corn law, and he had a theory of comparative advantage, and he believed this high tariff is going to hurt the society or hurt British economy, right? And interestingly, so we are in the deglobalization world right now, but I want to let you know, so his theory of comparative advantage has become the ideological foundation for free trade, even though right now we are in an interesting time in history, right? So in this class, I'm going to give you the basics of a free trade or the theory of comparative advantage. Hope you understand so why free trade is important, okay? Now, to understand these comparative advantage and the gains from trade, let's go to a simple word. Just remember, so this is another example we use a model. right? What is a model? Model is a simplified representation of how real economy or how real situation looks like, right? And here, so we are going to use a model. And in this model, we simplified our word by saying for any economy, okay? So we have worker, so in the middle, so this is worker, workers, okay? And in this simplified economy, we produce two types of goods. This is for simplification. As I mentioned earlier, two typically represent many, right? So this is simplification. So we produce either a computer on the left-hand side, it's called PC, or shirt, it's called shirt, SH, shirt on the right-hand side, okay? So we produce two things, okay? And we only consume two things in this simplified word, right? But you can understand this PC represents some luxury goods or some technical goods, and shirt that represents some necessity, right? So the necessary goods and service that keep you warm, keep you safe, right? So these are two things, okay? So this is for any economy in the world. So they only produce two things. But depending on which country we are in, so they are going to have different technology, or they have different production possibility frontier, right? Now, make the matter simple. There are two countries in the world. We start with the first one, which is Mexico. Okay, so we are in Mexico. Okay? And so in Mexico, so the technology is given as follows. It takes 12 units of labor to make one computer, and 2 units labor to produce one shirt, right? And given this information, okay, so it should be fairly straightforward for you to plot the PPF. And it also should be straightforward for you to find out the opportunity cost of computer in terms of shirt and opportunity cost of shirt in terms of computer. Now, let's just see how these things looks like, right? In the graph, essentially it says it takes 12 workers to produce one computer. Here, this equal sign just give you the technology, right? So it just means 12 workers, they can produce one computer, right? But here, so you may want to interpret this one computer not literally. So you may interpret this one computer as 1 million or 1,000 units, right? So it gives a certain amount of time, okay? And on the other hand, so 2 workers to produce one shirt. Again, this equal sign just gives you the technology. We take 2 workers, certain amount of time to produce one shirt, or you can think about 1 million shirts, right? So this is a technology, or this is a production possibility frontier in Mexico look like, right? So now, suppose the Mexico has total of 24 units of labor. So that's their resource. Now remember, resources are scarce, right? So they have a total of 24 units. That means if they spend all their resource to produce computer, what are they going to do? So because 12 workers is going to produce one computer, and then we have 24, and then so we have 2 group that's going to produce 2 computer, right? So because they allocate all the resource in computer, meaning they are going to produce 0 shirts. On the other hand, what are they going to do? So they may say, oh, so I'm going to allocate all resource in shirts, because every 2 workers can produce 1 shirt, right? And then so for 24, we have 12 groups. They are going to produce 12 shirts, right? Because we allocate all the resource in producing shirts, and then so we are going to produce 0 computer. Again, so this is ideas of scarcity of resources. So you can either produce one or the other, but certainly you can have a combination of both. Right. So now the PPF, what we learned in the previous chapter, is about the trade-off of resources, what you can produce, what you cannot, right? So the trade-off is if they want to produce more shirts, they must produce fewer computer. On the other hand, if they want to produce more computer, and then they must produce less shares, right? And more specifically, so we can find out each computer is going to cost 12 workers, right? Why we say that? This is because, so for each computer, it's going to cost 12 workers in the middle, right? But when we allocate these 12 workers in producing computer, and then so we miss the opportunity to produce shares, because each 2 workers can produce 1 share, and these 12 workers can produce 6 shares. So that's why we have this inequality. So this equality eventually gives us the opportunity cost. So in some sense, so this 1 computer equal to this 6 shares. So this is a big equal sign, right? That gives you the opportunity cost. So 1 computer is going to cost 6 shares in Mexico. Why is that? Because once we allocate resources to produce 1 computer, you give up the opportunity of those resources can be used to produce shares that exactly equal to 6. Right. On the other hand, so we can find out the opportunity cost of shares in terms of computer. Because in order to produce 1 share, we need 2 workers. These workers, if instead of producing shares, they are assembling computers, what they can do, they can make 1/6. Because it takes 12 workers to assemble or produce 1 computer. And 2 can only produce 2 out of 12, which is 1/6. Right? And then so from here, so we have another equality. 1 share equal to 1/6 of computer. And here, so we literally find out the opportunity cost of share in terms of a computer. Right? So 1 share costs 1/6 of computer, meaning so the opportunity cost of shares is 1/6 of computer. All right. So now, given those information, we are ready to plot the PPF for Mexican economy. Again, so this is a fictional economy, right? So this just simplified, highly stylized economy. Okay. So now we start with this table. We have seen this table before. So this economy produced 2. One is computer, the other is shares, depending on how we allocate resource. So we have different combination of production possibility, right? So either allocate all resources in computer and then 0 shares, or we allocate all resources to shares and 0 computer, or in the middle we split, right? So next we are going to put those dots or those data points on the diagram, okay? And then so we are going to see a diagram similar or we've seen in previous class. Right? So there are 3 dots corresponds to each row in the table. We connect them, so we are going to have a PPF. Right? So this is PPF. Okay, to remind yourself, any point on the line is efficient. Any point inside the line, they are feasible but not efficient. Any point outside the line, they are not feasible. More specifically, if we look at a point here, this is feasible but inefficient. The point here, this is infeasible, right? And the slope of this PPF is going to give you the trade-off of one goods in terms of the other, right? And so the slope over here actually is give you the opportunity cost of shirt, right? So you can calculate the slope of this line. So the slope of this line equal to 2 divided by 12, because it's a downward sloping, so this must be negative. So that's give you negative 1/6. But this 1/6 is exactly the opportunity cost of shirt in terms of computer, right? So we have just derived in the previous slides. Now we move to a practice questions, right? Learning by doing, right? So read these, and then so we can work out this problem all together. Okay, let me read this for you. So Aaron has a choice between 2 activities. So she can repair 1 transmission per hour, or she can repair 2 fuel injector per hour. What is the opportunity cost of repairing 1 fuel injector? Just remind you, so the way we calculate opportunity cost is use this formula, right? So on the denominator is a benefit. On the numerator is a cost. Right? So just cost per each things you gain. So now we need to identify the benefit. The benefit is, so she wants to repair in 1 fuel injector. Okay, but during the time of repairing 1 fuel injector, how many transmissions she can repair? Because 2 fuel injector is going to take her 1 hour, meaning 1 fuel injector is going to take her half an hour. In half an hour times, how many transmissions she can repair? She can only repair half. Why? Because it takes 1 hour, 1 full hour to repair 1 transmission. So the cost is going to be 1/2. Or in other words, so you think about 1 hour, in a 1 hour, what's benefit? In 1 hour, so she can repair 2 injector. Okay, then so she gives us opportunity to repair 1 transmission. So in either case, the opportunity cost of repairing 1 fuel injector is going to be 1/2 transmission. Now the answer is B. Now, so just remember cost divided by benefit. So that's the opportunity cost. Right. The second question. So David can write either 1 more book this year or 5 more articles this year. What is the opportunity cost of writing half a book this year in terms of article? Okay, so let's break down the number. So in 1 year, okay, so he can either write 1 book or so he can write 5 articles. Now the question asks you, what is the opportunity cost of writing 1 book? Okay. Oh, sorry, half a book. Half a book. So write 1 book, so he give up 5 articles. And then half book, and he must give up half of the 5 articles. Right? So the answer is C, 2.5 articles. Right. Very good. So now we understand the opportunity cost, we understand the PBF, and so we have finished the discussion regarding to technology or production possibility frontier in Mexico. Now we are going to look at other part of the world, right? Or the trading partner, potential trading partner of Mexico. So now we cross the border. So we move to north. We enter the United States. And the US economy is going to have its own production and cost ratio. Or in other words, they have their own technology. They have their own PBF. Right? So their different PBF is going to give us the interesting outcome or interesting discussion why Mexico or US want to trade with the other party. Okay? So now we are in a different country. Okay? So similarly, this economy, so there are 3 pieces of information. Number 1, the resource they have. So in US, again, we assume they have same amount of labor. For simplicity, they have 24 unit of labor, right? But the technology is different. It's going to take 1 unit of labor to produce either goods. Okay? Remember, in previous economy, it's going to take 2 labor to produce 1 shirt, and 12 laborers to produce a computer, right? In US, so labor, so 1 labor, they can either produce 1 shirt or they can produce 1 computer. Now we put them together, so you're gonna see, so these 24 units of labor in the United States, they can either produce 24 shirts on the left-hand side, 24 on the left-hand side, or they can produce 24 computer on the right-hand side. depending on how they are going to allocate their resources, right? So this is U.S. economy. Now, similarly, so we can calculate the opportunity cost, right? So this one labor, so he can either produce a shirt or assemble a computer, right? And then so this discussion becomes simple. So this shirt equal to computer, and computer equal to shirts. And then in terms of the opportunity cost of shirt in the United States is one computer, and the opportunity cost of one computer in the United States is one shirt, so 1 to 1. So that's the opportunity cost. Right. All right. And similarly, so we can compare. Sorry. So we should have a PPF curve for United States, but so we just leave that comparison in the later, right? So because we already find out the opportunity cost for United States. Now, we are going to look at the technology difference in two countries, US versus Mexico. So in Mexico, the technology is given as follows. One computer equal to 6 shirts. Why is that? Because one computer takes 12 workers. But these 12 workers, they can produce 6 shirts because each shirt costs 2 workers. So this is in Mexico. Now in United States, so one shirt costs one computer, or one computer costs one shirt. And from here, so you should have a sense how their technology are different, right? And certainly, so in US, the opportunity cost of computer is much lower compared to Mexico, right? Because in US, in order to produce one computer, you only give up one shirt. But in Mexico, in order to produce the same computer, you have to give up 6 shirts, right? So you can clearly see, so US, they have much stronger technology in producing computer. However, there are two sides of the same coin. The other side of the coin says Mexico, in order to produce one shirt, they give up 1/6 of computer. But in US, they give up 1/6 of computer. Oh, sorry, one unit of computer. This means Mexico, they have stronger technology to produce shirts compared to United States. Now, this is summarized in next slides. If we say a country has a comparative advantage, so this is a keyword for this chapter, in producing goods for which it has lowest opportunity cost. In the previous example, United States has comparative advantage in producing computer because it has the lowest opportunity cost, or it has lower opportunity cost compared to Mexico. Remember, the opportunity cost of computer in United States is 1 versus 6 in Mexico, right? So this is computer or PC. On the other hand, Mexico has comparative advantage in shirts. Actually, this show up in the following 2 bullet points. US has comparative advantage in in computer. It's because each computer costs 1 shirt, but in Mexico it is going to cost 6 shirts, right? 1 less than 6. But the other side of the same coin says Mexico has comparative advantage in producing shirts. Why? Because it only costs 1/6 of a computer. But in the United States, it's going to cost 1 computer. So 1/6 less than 1. Right? And here, 1 shirt less than 6. Right? So this is a keyword. The keyword is comparative advantage. Whoever has lower cost to producing some good and service, and then so this party or this economy, this country has comparative advantage in producing that good or service, right? So this is a comparative advantage, and that's the key idea of trade, or how we are going to benefit from trading with each other. All right. So now with this comparative advantage in hand, so now we are ready to look at how we can benefit from trade with each other. Right? Now we are going to use a slightly different example, okay? But the same idea. Okay? Now we still have two countries or two potential trading partners. One is United States, the other is Brazil. Now, in these two economies, they are going to produce two goods. One is larger jet, the other is small jet. Okay, and both countries has ability to produce both goods, but with different technology. Now let's see how their technology are different. Okay, so start with the United States. United States, so their technology is as follows. If all resource has been allocated to produce larger jet, and then US can produce 30 larger jet. On the other hand, if all resource has been allocated to produce small jet, then they are going to produce 40 small jet. Now, here we assume a constant opportunity cost. So then we have a straight line. Just remind yourself, in previous class, we have a discussion. In some case, the PPF is a line like this, or the opportunity cost may change depending on how many you produce. All right. Okay. So now let's just finish the discussion for the United States. All right. So this line is PPF for United States. Right. And let's say we start with the consumption bundle for United States without trade. So 18 and 16 is what Americans want to consume. Right? So they want to have a variety of goods to serve different markets. Think about international traveling versus domestic flight. Right? So they want to produce 18 versus 16. This is without trading partner. Right? And then now, so we look at other part of the world. So we look at Brazil. Okay? In Brazil, so they have slightly different technology. So if they allocate all resources in larger jet, they can produce 10. On the other hand, if they allocate all resources in a small jet, they can produce 30. And we have PPF. Similarly, this is their PPF, right? Okay, and similarly, so Brazilian, they also want to diversify the consumption of larger jet versus small jet to serve different market, international flight versus domestic flight. And so without trade, they are going to produce 8 larger jet versus 6 small jet. So this is without trade, right? Now let's see so how their opportunity costs are different and why the different opportunity costs translate into comparative advantage and why comparative advantage allows gain through trade. Okay, so we can easily find out the opportunity cost for different goods. Okay, so first let's just find out opportunity cost for US. Okay? Start with small jet. So I can write down here. This row, this is small jet. And the second row is larger jet. Just keep in mind, so this small jet, the opportunity cost of small jet in terms of larger jet. This is the cost of larger jet in terms of small jet. Okay, so US, the opportunity cost of small jet equal to 3/4 of larger jet. Why is that? It's because when we decide to allocate all resources to produce 40 small jet, the US is giving up the opportunity to produce 30 larger jet. And then so the opportunity cost of small jet is going to be 30, that's the cost. Divide by 40, that's the benefit. Okay, so terms are equal to 3/4. Okay, and on the other hand, so what is the opportunity cost of larger jet in terms of small jet? And then so you are giving up 40 small jet to produce 30 larger jet, right? So you are giving up here, so you are giving up 40 small jet so that you can producing 30 larger jet, right? So this is what you want to produce, 30. This is what you give up. So 40 divided by 30. So this is the opportunity cost of larger jet in terms of small jet. So 4/3, right? And interestingly, you should realize the opportunity cost of one goods in terms of the other goods, they are in a relationship of reciprocal, right? Or in other words, you multiply these two opportunity costs, you should equal to 1. Why is that? It's because opportunity cost is in terms of the other one. The opportunity cost of small jet is in terms of larger jet. The opportunity cost of larger jet is in terms of small jet. Right? So they must multiply, then you must equal to 1. They must equal to 1, right? Okay, so now we go to other side of the world. So we look at a Brazilian opportunity cost, okay? And then we can do the similar exercise. We find out the small jet costs 1/3 of larger jet, and one larger jet costs 3 small jet, okay? So now we understand where does this number coming from. So let me erase everything, and then so we can focus on the numbers. By looking at their opportunity costs or by comparing their opportunity costs, we can reach conclusion. Okay? US, they have comparative advantage in this row. And this row is in terms of larger jet, meaning US are specialized in producing larger jet. So this is US. On the other hand, Brazil, so they have smaller costs in producing smaller jet. Right? So this in terms of small. Right? So this is Brazil, BRZ. Right? So Brazil, they are specialized in producing small jet because they have a smaller opportunity cost of small jet in terms of a larger jet. All right? Okay, so I want to give you a 5-minute break to digest what we discussed. When we're coming back from the short break, we are going to see how US can benefit from Brazil and how Brazil can benefit from US.